The alarm went off during the quiet hours. Dr. Kate Morrison was 3 hours into her shift when the red lights started flashing across the medical bay. She jumped from her chair and ran to the communications console. Her coffee cup fell to the floor, spilling across the clean white tiles, but she did not care. The voice that came through the speakers was rough and broken. It spoke in a language the computer struggled to translate. Words came in pieces mixed with static and strange growling sounds, but Kate heard the fear in that voice. She had been a doctor for 10 years, and she knew desperation when she heard it. Human ship, this is the Kravik vessel Howling Star. We need help. Our cubs are dying. Please, anyone, help us. Kate's hands moved quickly over the console. She pulled up the location data and felt her stomach drop. The Kravik ship was close, only 2 hours away at full speed. She had heard of the Kravik before. Everyone in the Terran Medical Corps had heard of them. They were massive creatures, predators from a world where gravity was twice as strong as Earth. They were warriors, hunters, and they did not ask for help. Ever. Captain Jake Miller burst onto the bridge. His uniform was half-buttoned, and his gray hair was messy from sleep. He looked at the screen, then at Kate. Did I hear that right? A Kravik ship is asking us for help? Kate nodded. Their cubs are dying, Captain. They need medical assistance right now. Jake ran a hand through his hair. The Kravik had a reputation. They were not cruel, but they were fierce. Most species gave them space. Humans had only been in space for 15 years, and they were still learning the rules of the galaxy. Getting involved with the Kravik could be dangerous, but Jake looked at Kate's face. He saw the determination there. He knew that look. Kate Morrison did not back down when lives were at stake. Get your team ready, Doctor. Tell them we are changing course. The Nightingale turned in space, its engines burning bright as it raced toward the Kravik ship. Kate ran through the corridors, calling for her assistant. Ben Carter met her at the medical supply room. He was young, only 25, fresh from medical school on Mars. His hands shook as he helped Kate pack the emergency kits. Are you sure about this? Ben asked. The Kravik are dangerous. What if this is a trap? Kate stopped packing and looked at him. Ben, someone is asking for help. That is all I need to know. Now grab the portable scanners. We will need everything we have. On the bridge, the Howling Star came into view. The ship was huge, 3 times the size of the Nightingale. Its hull was dark metal, covered in scratches and dents from countless battles. But now it drifted in space, its engines barely working. Smoke leaked from several sections. The view screen flickered to life. Kate stood beside Captain Jake, and both of them froze. The creature on the screen was massive. He stood at least 8 feet tall, maybe more. His body was covered in thick gray fur, and his arms were heavy with muscle. His face was long, with a pronounced snout filled with sharp teeth. His eyes were amber, bright and intelligent, but now they were filled with something Kate recognized immediately. Grief. I am Vormath, pack leader of the Howling Star. His voice was deep, rumbling like thunder. The translator worked better now that the connection was stronger. 3 hours ago, our environmental system failed. An explosion. Our healer was killed. A poison was released into the air. My warriors can survive it. Our cubs cannot. Kate stepped forward. Pack leader Vormath, I am Dr. Kate Morrison. How many cubs are affected? Vormath's amber eyes locked onto her. Kate was small compared to him, barely 5.5 feet tall. But she did not look away. 6 cubs, all under 5 years old. They are convulsing. They cannot breathe properly. We have tried everything we know. Nothing works. They have maybe hours left. Behind Vormath, Kate could hear sounds, small whimpering cries. The sound of children in pain. It cut through her like a knife. Captain Miller, I request permission to board the Howling Star with a medical team. Jake looked worried. Kate, we do not know anything about Kravik biology. We have never treated their species before, and their ship could be dangerous. What if the life support fails completely? Kate met his eyes. Then we work fast, Captain. Those cubs need help now. We are the only ones close enough to reach them in time. Jake knew he could not stop her. He nodded slowly. Take Ben with you. Stay in constant contact. If anything goes wrong, you get back here immediately. Understood, Captain. Vormath watched the exchange. You would risk your lives for Kravik Young? We are not friends. Earth and the Kravik have no alliance. Kate pulled on her emergency suit, checking the seals. Pack leader, where I come from, when someone needs help, you help them. It does not matter who they are. Something changed in Vormath's expression. Surprise maybe. Or respect. It was hard to tell with alien features. 20 minutes later, Kate and Ben stood at the airlock. They wore full environmental suits with independent air supplies. Their medical kits were strapped to their backs, heavy with equipment. Through the small window they could see the Kravik ship's airlock connecting to theirs. "Ready?" Kate asked. Ben took a deep breath. "As ready as I will ever be." The door opened with a hiss. The interior of the Howling Star was dark. Emergency lights painted everything red. The air looked hazy, filled with some kind of chemical residue. Kate's suit immediately started beeping warnings about toxic compounds. Vormath stood waiting for them. In person, he was even more impressive. His head nearly touched the ceiling, and his shoulders were broad enough to fill the corridor. Behind him stood 3 other Kravik warriors, all watching the humans with suspicious eyes. "Follow me," Vormath said. His voice was quieter now, defeated. "The Cubs are in the medical bay." They walked through the ship. Kate noticed everything. The corridors were wider than human ships needed, built for larger bodies. The walls were covered in claw marks, some fresh, some old. The Kravik did not decorate their ships with art or pictures. Everything was functional, built for war and survival. Other Kravik watched them pass. Warriors stepped aside, their massive bodies pressing against the walls to let the tiny humans through. Some growled low in their throats. Others just stared. Kate could feel their eyes on her back, but she kept walking. Ben stayed close behind her, his breathing loud in the suit's helmet. The medical bay was larger than Kate expected. 6 small forms lay on raised platforms. The Cubs were about the size of human children, maybe 4 feet tall. Their fur was lighter than the adults, gray mixed with white and brown. They were convulsing, their small bodies jerking uncontrollably. Foam gathered at their mouths. Their breathing came in short, painful gasps. Kate dropped to her knees beside the nearest cub. She pulled out her scanner and began taking readings. Ben moved to the next cub, his hands steadier now that they had work to do. The readings made Kate's heart sink. The toxin had attacked the cubs' nervous systems. It was shutting down their basic functions one by one. First the voluntary muscles, then the involuntary ones. Soon their hearts would stop and their lungs would fail. "Ben, what are you seeing?"
"The same, Kate. This is bad."
"Their neural pathways are degrading fast. I have never seen anything like this." Kate looked up at Vormath. The massive warrior stood over her, his shadow blocking the red emergency lights. His face was unreadable, but his eyes showed everything, hope and fear mixed together. "Can you save them?" he asked simply. Kate looked at the dying cubs. She thought about saying no. She thought about explaining that Kravik biology was completely different from anything she had studied, that this was impossible. But then she remembered something her mother had taught her. Her mother had been a veterinarian in Montana, working with animals on farms and ranches. She had saved dogs, cats, horses, and cattle that other vets had given up on. And she had always said the same thing: life wants to survive. You just have to give it a chance. Kate looked at Vormath and nodded. "We will try. That is all I can promise." The pack leader placed one massive paw on her shoulder. His claws were long enough to pierce her suit, but he was careful, gentle. "That is more than any other species offered," he said quietly. "The 3 nearest medical ships refused to come. They said helping Kravik was too dangerous. You are here. You will try. That is enough." Kate felt the weight of those words. She turned back to the cubs and rolled up her sleeves under the suit. "Ben, start a full cellular analysis. I need to know exactly what this toxin is doing. And get me samples of their blood. We are going to figure this out." Around her, the Kravik warriors watched in silence. The fate of their cubs rested in the hands of a small human doctor who should have been too scared to come. But Kate Morrison was not thinking about fear. She was thinking about 6 young lives that needed her, and she was going to save them. The first hour was chaos. Kate moved from cub to cub, her scanner beeping constantly as it gathered data. Ben worked beside her, taking blood samples and tissue readings. The cubs whimpered in pain, making sounds that reminded Kate of puppies. It hurt to hear them suffer. The smallest cub was a female. Her fur was lighter than the others, almost silver in the red emergency lighting. She was convulsing worse than the rest, her small body jerking every few seconds. Kate knelt beside her and placed a gloved hand on the cub's head. "What is her name?" Kate asked Vormath. The pack leader looked surprised by the question. Her name is Kiratal. It means morning star in our language. She is my youngest daughter. Kate nodded.
Hello, Kiratal.
I am Kate. I am going to help you feel better. The cub could not respond, but her convulsions seemed to ease slightly at the sound of Kate's voice. Vormath noticed. His amber eyes widened. She can hear you. Maybe, Kate said, still running her scanner over the small body. Or maybe she just feels someone trying to help. Either way, it cannot hurt to talk to her. Ben called out from across the room.
Kate, I have the blood analysis.
You need to see this. Kate stood and walked to where Ben had set up their portable lab station. The screen showed a complex breakdown of Kravik blood chemistry. It was unlike anything in the human medical database. Their blood uses a copper base instead of iron, Ben explained, pointing at the screen. That is why it looks blue instead of red. And their neural transmitters are completely different from ours. This toxin is blocking the signals between their brain and body. Kate studied the data. Her mind raced through everything she had learned in medical school. Every case study she had read, every emergency she had handled. The toxin was attacking the cub's nervous systems in a specific way. It was not random damage. It had a pattern. It is similar to nerve agents we have on Earth, Kate said slowly. The kind used in chemical warfare. But this is biological, not synthetic. The explosion must have released something from the ship's systems. Vormath stepped closer. Our environmental systems use organic compounds. They are alive in a way. They filter and recycle air. When the explosion happened, the main filter organism died. It released its defense chemicals into the air. Kate understood. The Kravik ship used biological air filters, something humans did not do. When the organism died, it had poisoned the air as a final defense mechanism. The adult Kravik could handle it because their bodies were stronger, more resilient. But the cubs were young. Their systems could not process the toxin fast enough. So we need to neutralize the toxin and restore their neural function, Kate said. She looked at Ben. Can we synthesize an antidote? Ben shook his head. Not with what we have here. We would need a full lab and days to test it properly. These cubs do not have days. Kate looked back at the suffering cubs. Kiratal had stopped convulsing, but only because her body was too weak to continue. Her breathing was shallow, barely visible. Time was running out. Think, Kate told herself. Think like Mom would think. Her mother had faced impossible cases on the farm. Animals with unknown poisons in their systems, injuries that should have been fatal. She had always found a way. Kate's eyes fell on her medical kit. Inside were dozens of human medications, treatments designed for Earth biology. They would not work on the Kravik. The chemistry was too different, but maybe the chemistry was not as different as it seemed. Ben, pull up the data on Earth predators. Big ones, lions, tigers, wolves. Ben looked confused. Kate, we are not treating Earth animals. Just do it. Trust me, Ben pulled up the files. Kate studied them quickly. Earth's large predators had similar body structures to the Kravik. Forelimbs, bilateral symmetry, similar organ placement. The chemistry was different, yes, but the basic biology followed the same rules. Evolution favored certain designs, whether on Earth or on some distant Kravik homeworld. Look at this, Kate said, pointing at the screen. When Earth predators get nerve damage, their bodies produce specific proteins to repair the connections. What if the Kravik have something similar? Ben looked at the data, then at the Kravik blood samples. His eyes widened. Kate, you might be right. Look at this protein chain here. It is not the same as human proteins, but it serves the same function. Kate felt a spark of hope. So if we can stimulate their bodies to produce more of these proteins, they might be able to repair the damage on their own. But how do we stimulate production? Everything we have is designed for human biology. Kate thought hard. There was a treatment used for humans who suffered severe nerve damage. It involved a combination of drugs that forced the body to accelerate its natural healing processes. It was risky, with severe side effects, but it worked. We modify the treatment protocol for nerve regeneration, Kate said. Adjust the dosages based on their body mass and chemistry. It is going to be rough calculation, but it is better than doing nothing. Vormath had been listening. You are not certain this will work. Kate looked at him honestly. No, Pack Leader. I am not certain. This has never been done before. But your cubs are dying. Without intervention, they will be dead within hours. This treatment gives them a chance, the other Kravik warriors growled. One of them, a female with dark fur, stepped forward. You would experiment on our cubs? Use them as test subjects for human medicine? Kate stood her ground. I would try to save their lives using everything I know. Yes, this is experimental. Yes, there are risks. But the alternative is watching them die. I will not do that. Vormath raised a hand, silencing the other warrior. He looked at Kate for a long moment. You are honest. You do not promise miracles. I respect that. He turned to his warriors. The human doctor will try. Anyone who objects can leave, no one left. They all stayed watching as Kate and Ben began to work. Kate used the ship's medical fabricator to synthesize the drugs they needed. She had to explain the chemical formulas to Vormath, who operated the alien machine. The Kravik fabricator was more advanced than anything humans had, able to create complex compounds in minutes. While they waited, Kate checked on each cub again. Their vital signs were declining. Kiratal's heart rate was dangerously slow. The other cubs were not much better. Kate had maybe an hour left, possibly less. Ben came to her side. Kate, what if this does not work? What if we make things worse? Kate did not answer right away. She thought about all the times she had faced impossible choices as a doctor, the times when every option was bad and she had to choose the least bad one. Then we tried, she said finally. That is all we can do, Ben, we try. The fabricator beeped. The drugs were ready. Kate took the injectors carefully, checking the dosages 3 times. Ben stood beside her, ready to assist. We start with Kiratal, Kate said. She is the smallest and weakest. If the treatment works on her, it should work on the others. Vormath knelt beside his daughter. His massive paw stroked her silver fur gently. Do what you must, doctor. Kate positioned the injector against Kiratal's neck. She found the major blood vessel, the equivalent of a human carotid artery. Her hand was steady. Years of practice kept her calm even though her heart was racing. Here we go, she whispered and pressed the trigger. The drug entered Kiratal's system. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the cub's body went rigid. Her back arched and she made a sound like a scream. Vormath grabbed Kate's arm. What is happening? You are hurting her. Kate pulled free, watching the monitors. Her body is reacting to the treatment. It is forcing her system to work faster. This is normal. Give it time. But inside, Kate was terrified. The cub's vital signs were spiking wildly. Heart rate jumping, blood pressure climbing. If she had calculated wrong, if the dosage was too high, Kiratal could die right here. Ben gripped Kate's shoulder. Kate, wait, Kate said firmly. Just wait. Seconds felt like hours. The other Kravik warriors pressed closer, their growls filling the air. Kate kept her eyes on the monitor, watching the numbers. Kiratal's convulsions were changing. They were less chaotic, more controlled. Her body was fighting back. Then slowly the cub's breathing steadied. The wild jerking stopped. Her heart rate began to normalize. The monitors showed neural activity increasing, pathways reconnecting. It was working. Kate let out a breath she did not know she had been holding. Ben, monitor her carefully. I am moving to the next cub. She went to the second cub, a male with brown fur. She repeated the process, injecting the drug and watching the same terrifying reaction. But again, after those horrible moments of uncertainty, the cub stabilized. One by one, Kate treated all 6 cubs. Each injection was a gamble. Each moment of waiting was agony. But each time the cubs pulled through. Their bodies responded to the treatment, fighting off the toxin, rebuilding the damaged neural pathways. By the time Kate finished the 6th cub, her legs were shaking. She had been kneeling on the hard deck for hours. Her back ached, and her hands cramped from holding the injectors, but all 6 cubs were breathing easier now. Their convulsions had stopped. The monitors showed improvement in every vital sign. Kate sat back against the wall and pulled off her helmet. The air in the medical bay was still toxic, but her suit had internal air. She needed to see clearly, to check the cubs without the helmet's limited view. Vormath approached slowly. The massive Kravik knelt beside her, bringing his face level with hers. His amber eyes were wet. Kate refused to leave the Howling Star. Captain Jake Miller called every few hours, asking if she was ready to return to the Nightingale. Each time Kate said no. The cubs were stable, but she wanted to be certain. She needed to monitor them for at least 48 hours to make sure there were no delayed reactions to the treatment. Ben stayed with her. They set up a monitoring station in the corner of the medical bay, using equipment from both ships. The Kravik medical systems were more advanced than human technology in some ways. but they lacked the detailed neural monitoring that human medicine specialized in. Kate combined both systems, creating a hybrid monitoring network that gave her a complete picture of each cub's recovery. The Kravik crew did not know what to make of the two humans living among them. At first, they kept their distance, watching with suspicious eyes. But as the hours passed and the cubs continued to improve, the atmosphere began to change. A Kravik female brought them food. She was smaller than the males, only about 7 feet tall, with reddish fur. She set down 2 bowls of a thick paste that smelled like copper and earth. "You must eat," she said in heavily accented standard. "You have worked hard. You need strength." Kate looked at the paste doubtfully. Ben poked it with his finger. "What is it?" he asked. "Nutrient paste. It has everything your body needs. We use it on long voyages." Kate took a small bite. It tasted terrible, like metal mixed with dirt and something vaguely sweet. But she was hungry, and the Kravik were offering hospitality. She swallowed and smiled. "Thank you. It is very good." The female's ears perked up. Kate was learning to read Kravik body language. That meant pleasure or amusement. "You are a bad liar, human. But you are polite. I am Sharavik. I am the pack leader's mate. Those are my cubs you saved." Kate stood quickly, nearly dropping her bowl. "I did not know. I am sorry, I should have shown more respect." Sharavik made a rumbling sound, the Kravik version of laughter. "You saved my children. You can eat however you want. Sit, rest. You look ready to fall over." Kate sat back down. Her body ached everywhere. She had been awake for almost 30 hours straight, running on adrenaline and determination. Now that the immediate crisis was over, exhaustion was catching up to her. "They are beautiful cubs," Kate said, looking at the 6 sleeping forms. "You must be very proud." Sharavik settled onto the floor beside Kate. Even sitting, the Kravik female was taller than Kate standing. "I am proud and grateful. We called 6 medical ships before yours. All of them refused to help. They said Kravik were too dangerous, that our cubs were not their concern. But you came, why?" Kate thought about the question. "Because you needed help. That is reason enough. But we are not your people. We are predators. Humans are prey species. We could kill you easily." Kate looked at Sharavik calmly. "Maybe, but you did not. You asked for help instead. That takes courage. And my species has a saying. We are all people when it comes to protecting children." Sharavik was quiet for a moment. Then she reached out and gently touched Kate's shoulder with one clawed finger. "You are strange, human. But I like you. Rest now. I will watch the monitors. You have earned sleep." Kate wanted to argue, but her body betrayed her. Her eyes were closing on their own. Ben was already asleep in his chair, his head tilted back and mouth open. Sharavik pulled a thermal blanket from a storage compartment and draped it over both humans. "Sleep, Dr. Kate Morrison. Your cubs are safe." Kate woke 6 hours later to the sound of small chirping noises. She sat up quickly, her hand going to her medical scanner out of habit. Then she saw what was making the sounds and smiled. The cubs were awake. Kiratal was sitting up on her platform, looking around with bright, curious eyes. The other cubs were stirring too, making soft sounds to each other. Ben was already checking their vital signs, a huge grin on his face. "Kate, look at this. Their neural pathways have completely regenerated. There is no permanent damage. They are going to be fine." Kate walked to Kiratal's platform. The small cub watched her approach with interest rather than fear. Up close, Kate could see that Kiratal had her father's amber eyes. They were intelligent and aware. "Hello, little one," Kate said softly. "How are you feeling?" Kiratal tilted her head, studying Kate. Then she reached out with one small paw and touched Kate's face. Her pads were soft and her claws were retracted. She chirped something in the Kravik language. Vormath appeared in the doorway. He had been sleeping in the corridor, refusing to leave his cubs even for his own quarters. Now he stepped into the room and his face showed pure joy. "She asks why you are so small," Vormath translated. "She wants to know if your pack did not feed you enough." Kate laughed. It was the first time she had really laughed since boarding the Kravik ship. "Tell her that humans are naturally small. We are not as strong as Kravik, but we manage." Vormath spoke to his daughter in their language. Kiratal chirped back and the pack leader smiled. "She says you are small but brave. She wants to know if you can hunt. Tell her I hunt knowledge instead of prey. I am a healer, not a warrior." The conversation drew the other cubs' attention. They sat up one by one, looking at the strange humans in their medical bay. Soon all 6 were chirping questions at once. Formath could barely keep up with translating. Why do humans have no fur? Are your claws too small to fight? Can you run fast? Do humans live in packs? Why does your skin have so many colors? Ben pulled out his datapad and started showing the cubs pictures of Earth. Images of cities, oceans, mountains, and forests. The cubs crowded around, fascinated by this alien world. They pointed at pictures of dogs and asked if they were humans. They saw pictures of lions and asked if those were Earth's version of Kravik. Kate watched the cubs interact with Ben, and she felt a warmth in her chest. These were just children, curious and playful. It did not matter that they were aliens with fur and claws. They had the same wonder, the same eagerness to learn. Sharavik entered with more food, this time bringing a variety of items. She had learned that the humans struggled with nutrient paste, so she had found other options. There were fruits from the Kravik homeworld, protein bars from their emergency supplies, and even some water that tasted almost like earth water. "Eat," she commanded. "Both of you. You look like skeletons." Kate and Ben ate gratefully. The Kravik food was strange but edible. The fruit was tart and crunchy like apples mixed with citrus. The protein bars were dense and filling. It was a feast compared to the paste. While they ate, Vormath sat beside Kate. His massive frame made the floor creak, but he moved with surprising grace. "I have been thinking," he said, "about what you did for us. About how you risked your lives to save our cubs." Kate swallowed her food. Any decent person would have done the same. "No," Vormath said firmly. "No, they would not. We called 6 ships before yours, 6 chances for help. All refused. Some were afraid. Others simply did not care about Kravik lives. But you came. You, a small human doctor who had never seen our species before. You came and you saved them." Kate did not know what to say. She could see the emotion in Vormath's eyes, the depth of his gratitude. "The Kravik do not forget debts," Vormath continued. "You saved my cubs, my family. That makes you family. You and Ben are pack-bound now. Do you understand what that means?" Kate shook her head. "I am not sure I do, pack leader." "It means you are one of us. If you need help, any Kravik will help you. If you are threatened, we will defend you. If you are hungry, we will feed you. This bond does not end. It is for life." Kate felt the weight of those words. This was not just a thank you. This was a permanent connection, a tie between her and an entire species. "Pack leader, I am honored, truly, but I was just doing my job." Vormath made a sound like a growl, but Kate was learning to read Kravik emotions. This was not anger. It was frustration at her modesty. "Your job is to heal humans, yes? We are not humans. You did more than your job. You saw lives that needed saving and you saved them. That is what makes you pack. That is what makes you special." Kiratel climbed down from her platform and walked to Kate on unsteady legs. She was still weak from the toxin, but she was determined. She pressed her small body against Kate's side and chirped softly. "She says you smell strange but nice," Vormath translated with amusement. "She says you can be her second mother if you want." Kate felt tears prick her eyes. She wrapped an arm around the small cub, feeling the soft fur and the steady heartbeat. This little one had been dying just hours ago. Now she was alive, curious, and playful. "I would be honored," Kate said quietly. The other cubs came over too, surrounding Kate and Ben. They touched the humans with curious paws, sniffing and chirping. Ben looked overwhelmed but happy. One of the male cubs tried to groom Ben's hair, licking it with a rough tongue. Kate?" Ben said, his voice high-pitched. "What do I do?" Sharavik laughed. "Let him groom you. It is how we show affection. He is accepting you into the pack." Ben sat very still while the cub licked his hair into strange spikes. Kate bit back a laugh. By the time the cub was satisfied, Ben looked like he had been attacked by a very enthusiastic stylist. Vormath stood and addressed his crew through the ship's communication system. "Attention, all pack members. The humans have saved our cubs. They are now pack-bound. Anyone who harms them answers to me. Anyone who helps them honors the pack. Spread the word." 3 weeks after leaving the Howling Star, Kate Morrison received a message that changed everything. She was in the medical bay of the Nightingale, updating patient files, when Captain Jake Miller called her to the bridge. "Kate, you need to see this." She arrived to find Jake staring at the communications console with a strange expression. On the screen was an official seal she recognized, the Galactic Council Medical Assembly. It was the highest medical authority in known space. Representing over 300 species, what is it? Kate asked. They want you to testify before the assembly in person about what happened with the Kravik cubs. Kate felt her stomach drop. Why, did I do something wrong? Jake shook his head. No, nothing like that. Apparently, Vormath filed an official report about the incident. He praised your work and criticized the other medical ships that refused to help. Now the assembly wants to hear your side of the story. Kate sat down heavily. The Galactic Council Medical Assembly. She had read about it in school, seen recordings of their sessions. It was where the most important decisions about galactic medicine were made. Policies, protocols, ethical standards, and now they wanted to talk to her. When? She asked. 2 weeks.
The assembly meets on the station at Keltar 9. We will be there in 10 days if we leave now. Kate nodded slowly.
Okay, tell them I will come. The next 10 days were a blur of preparation. Kate reviewed all her notes from the Kravik ship, organized her data, and practiced her testimony. Ben helped her create visual presentations showing the treatment process. Captain Jake gave her advice on how to speak to council members, how to be respectful but firm. On the day they arrived at Keltar 9, Kate put on her dress uniform. It felt strange after weeks of wearing medical scrubs. The uniform was dark blue with silver medical insignia on the collar. She looked at herself in the mirror and barely recognized the nervous woman staring back. You will be fine, Ben said. He was coming too, as her assistant and witness. Just tell them what happened. The truth is good enough. The assembly chamber was enormous. It was a circular room with seats rising in tiers around a central speaking platform. Representatives from hundreds of species filled the seats. Kate saw beings of every shape and size. Tall, crystalline creatures that glowed with inner light. Small, furry beings that looked like Earth's rabbits. Serpentine beings that coiled in their seats. And dozens more she could not even begin to describe. At the highest tier sat the assembly leaders, 5 beings chosen to represent the major medical philosophies of the galaxy. A human was not among them. Earth was too new to the galactic community to have that kind of influence yet. Kate and Ben took their seats in a small waiting area. Other speakers were scheduled before them. Kate watched as various medical officials presented reports on disease outbreaks, new treatment protocols, and research findings. Her heart pounded in her chest. These people were experts, leaders in their fields. What was she doing here? Then she saw movement at one of the entrances. A familiar massive form entered the chamber. Vormath had come. Behind him walked Sharavik, and to Kate's surprise, all 6 cubs. They moved with the confidence of Kravik warriors, drawing every eye in the room. The cubs spotted Kate and immediately broke formation, running to her with excited chirps. Kiratal reached her first, pressing her face against Kate's hand. Dr. Kate, you came. Father said you would be here, but we did not believe him. Kate knelt down, forgetting for a moment where she was. She hugged each cub, checking them over with a doctor's practiced eye. They looked healthy, fully recovered. Their fur was glossy, their eyes bright. You all look wonderful, she said, her voice thick with emotion. Vormath approached with Sharavik. Dr. Morrison, it is good to see you again. Pack leader, I did not expect you to come all this way. You are testifying on our behalf. Of course we came. We are Pack. We support our own. A chime sounded through the chamber. It was time for Kate's testimony. Her name was called, echoing through the vast space. Kate walked to the central platform, her legs shaking slightly. Ben went with her, carrying their presentation materials. The assembly leader, a tall being with 4 arms and skin like polished stone, spoke. Dr. Kate Morrison, you are called to testify regarding Incident File 7743K, involving the Kravik vessel Howling Star. Do you swear to provide accurate and honest testimony? I do, Kate said. Her voice sounded small in the huge chamber. Then please describe the events as you experienced them. Kate took a deep breath and began. She described receiving the distress call, the decision to help, boarding the Kravik ship. She explained the condition of the cubs, the toxin in their systems, the diagnosis she had made. Her voice grew steadier as she talked about the medicine, about the treatment she had improvised. When she finished the basic narrative, one of the assembly members leaned forward. It was a being covered in blue feathers with a sharp beak and eyes that reminded Kate of a bird of prey. Dr. Morrison, you admit that you had no training in Kravik physiology. You admit that the treatment you used was experimental and untested. Is that correct? Yes, that is correct. And yet you proceeded anyway. You injected 6 dying cubs with a treatment that could have killed them. Why? Kate met the being's eyes. Because they were dying anyway. The choice was not between a safe treatment and a risky one. The choice was between trying something that might work or watching them die for certain. I chose to try. Another assembly member spoke, this one a gelatinous being that shimmered when it moved. But you could have caused them great pain. You could have made their deaths worse. How do you justify that risk? Kate felt anger spark in her chest. I justified it by staying with them every moment, by monitoring them constantly, by being ready to stop the treatment if it went wrong. I did not experiment blindly. I used everything I knew about medicine, about biology, about healing, and it worked. Those cubs are alive because I tried. A third assembly member, a being with 6 eyes arranged around its head, spoke more gently. Dr. Morrison, we are not attacking you. We are trying to understand. In medicine, we have protocols. We have standards. What you did went against many of those standards. Some members of this assembly believe you were reckless. Kate looked up at the tiers of seats. She saw beings shaking their heads, saw skeptical expressions on alien faces, but she also saw some who were nodding, who were listening with open minds. May I ask a question? Kate said. The stone-skinned leader nodded. You may. How many medical ships received the Kravik distress call before the Nightingale? There was a pause. One of the assembly members checked a data pad. 6 ships received the call. All declined to respond. And why did they decline? The reasons varied. Some cited safety concerns. Others said they lacked expertise in Kravik biology. One said their mission parameters did not include Kravik assistance. Kate let that sink in. So 6 ships with trained medical personnel refused to help dying children because it was too hard, too dangerous, or simply not their problem. I'm the reckless one? The chamber went quiet. Kate pushed forward, her voice growing stronger. I am a human doctor. Earth has been in space for only 15 years. We know almost nothing about the galaxy, compared to species that have been traveling the stars for millennia. But we know one thing very well. We know that life matters. All life, not just human life. When someone needs help, you help them. You do not make excuses. You do not hide behind protocols. You help. Vormath stood in his seat. May I speak? The assembly leader hesitated, then nodded. Pack Leader Vormath, you may address the assembly. Vormath's voice filled the chamber. Members of the assembly, I am Kravik. My species is not known for gentleness or diplomacy. We are warriors. We survive through strength. But even warriors understand honor. Dr. Morrison showed honor. She saw my cubs dying and did not turn away. She did not make excuses. She rolled up her sleeves, as humans say, and she fought for their lives. He gestured to the cubs sitting beside Sharavik. These are my cubs. They live because of Dr. Morrison. I called 6 ships before hers. Ships from species that have been in space longer than humans have existed. All refused. They were afraid. They were too proud. They were too bound by their rules to do what was right. Vormath's amber eyes swept the assembly. You want to judge the human doctor for breaking your protocols? Fine, judge her. But remember that while you followed your rules, 6 children were dying, and the only one who saved them was the young human who decided that life mattered more than rules. The cubs stood up as if on cue. They walked down to the central platform where Kate stood. Kiratal looked up at the assembly with her father's confident gaze. We are alive because Dr. Kate helped us, the cubs said in careful standard. She was not scared. She was kind. She talked to us while we were sick. She stayed with us. She is Pack now. She is our second mother. Kate felt tears in her eyes. She had not known the cubs would speak. Their simple words cut through all the political complexity, reducing everything to the most basic truth. She had helped them, and they were alive. The feathered assembly member who had questioned Kate so harshly earlier stood up. I withdraw my criticism. The pack leader and his cubs have spoken truth. Dr. Morrison did what any good physician should do. She saved lives. Other assembly members began to speak. Some defended Kate, some. 6 months after the assembly hearing, Kate Morrison stood on the surface of Kravos Prime, the Kravik homeworld. The gravity was heavy, making each step feel like she was carrying weights on her back. The air was thick and humid, filled with scents she could not identify. But she was smiling. Around her, dozens of Kravik cubs played in a training ground. Some were wrestling, testing their strength against each other. Others practiced hunting techniques on mechanical targets. A few sat in groups learning from elder teachers, and 6 familiar cubs led the games, showing off for their human pack sister. Kira Tal had grown significantly in 6 months. She was now almost as tall as Kate, though still young by Kravik standards. She bounded over with the endless energy of youth. "Dr. Kate, watch this!" The young Kravik leaped at a training dummy, her claws extended. She struck with precision, taking down the dummy in one smooth motion. The other cubs cheered. Kira Tal looked at Kate with pride shining in her amber eyes. "Very impressive," Kate said. "Your form is excellent. Father has been training us extra hard. He says we must be strong to honor the pack." Kate looked across the training ground to where Vormath stood with a group of adult warriors. The pack leader nodded to her, acknowledging her presence. He was teaching combat techniques, but he always kept one eye on his cubs. Ben walked up beside Kate, sweating in the heavy gravity. "How do you manage to stand up straight?" "I feel like I weigh 300 pounds. "You get used to it," Kate lied. She was exhausted too, but she did not want to show weakness in front of the cubs. They looked up to her, literally and figuratively. A younger Kravik approached them. She was an adolescent, maybe equivalent to a human teenager. "Dr. Morrison? The council is ready for you," Kate nodded. "Thank you. Ben, stay here with the cubs. This should not take long." "Be careful," Ben said quietly. Kate followed the young Kravik through the settlement. Kravik architecture was different from human designs. Buildings were low and wide, built to withstand high winds and the heavy gravity. Everything was made of stone and metal, built to last for generations. The council chamber was an open-air structure with a domed roof. 12 elder Kravik sat in a circle, their gray fur marked with the scars of long lives. These were the leaders of the Kravik people, the ones who made decisions that affected their entire species. Vormath was there as well, standing to one side. He gave Kate an encouraging nod. The eldest Kravik, a female with white fur and cloudy eyes, spoke first. "Dr. Kate Morrison, you honor us with your presence on our world. We have much to discuss." Kate bowed in the Kravik manner, placing her hand over her heart. "The honor is mine, Elder. I am grateful for your invitation. You saved the pack leader's cubs. You became pack-bound. But that is not why we called you here. We called you because of what has happened since." Kate waited, unsure where this was going. Another elder spoke, a male with a deep scar across his snout. "Since the assembly hearing, 17 different species have requested human medical assistance. 5 permanent medical exchanges have been established between Earth and other worlds. Humans are now serving on 12 medical stations throughout the sector, all because of what you did," the white-furred elder continued. "You showed the galaxy something they had forgotten. That compassion is not weakness. That rules should serve life, not replace it. That being new to the stars does not mean being inferior." Kate felt her cheeks warm. "Elder, I was just doing my job. I did not mean to start any kind of movement." "But you did," a third elder said. "Humans have been dismissed by most species as too emotional, too fragile, too inexperienced. But you proved that emotion drives action. That fragility requires innovation. That inexperience brings fresh perspectives. The galaxy is learning to respect humanity because of doctors like you." The white-furred elder stood with effort, her old bones creaking. "Dr. Morrison, the Kravik Council wishes to make a formal proposal to Earth's medical government. We want to establish a permanent medical academy here on Kravos Prime. A place where human doctors can learn to treat alien species, and where alien doctors can learn human techniques. We want you to lead this academy." Kate felt her breath catch. "Elder, I am honored, but I am just one doctor. There are others far more qualified." "No," Vormath said, stepping forward. "There is no one more qualified. You are pack-bound. You understand Kravik culture. You have proven yourself before the Galactic Council, and most importantly, you care. You see patients, not species. That is what we need." Kate looked around the circle of elders. They were all watching her with serious expressions. This was not a casual offer. This was a chance to shape the future of medicine across multiple species. "I need time to think about it," Kate said carefully. "This is a big decision," the white-furred elder nodded. "Of course. Take the time you need. But know this. The Kravik people support this plan completely. We will provide resources, funding, facilities. We believe in this vision because we believe in you." Kate left the council chamber with her mind spinning. She walked through the settlement in a daze, barely noticing the Kravik who stopped to greet her. Everyone knew who she was now. The human who saved the cubs. The pack sister. The healer. She found a quiet spot near the edge of the settlement, a rocky outcrop that overlooked the vast plains of Kravos Prime. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of purple and orange that Earth skies never showed. She sat down carefully in the heavy gravity and tried to process everything. Impressive view, is it not? Kate turned to find Sharavik settling beside her. The pack leader's mate moved with the grace of long familiarity with her homeworld's gravity. It is beautiful, Kate said. Very different from Earth, but beautiful. You are thinking about the Council's offer. It was not a question. Kate nodded. It is a huge responsibility. An entire medical academy, training doctors from multiple species. I do not know if I can do it. Sharavik made the rumbling sound that was Kravik laughter. You are afraid. That is good. Fear means you understand the importance of the task. Someone without fear would be arrogant, unsuitable for such work. How do I know if I am making the right choice? You do not. That is the nature of important decisions. You cannot know if you are right until after you have chosen. Sharavik looked at Kate with kind eyes. But I will tell you what I see. I see a doctor who saved my cubs when no one else would try. I see a human who learned Kravik customs and respected our culture. I see a healer who cares more about saving lives than following rules. That is the person we need leading this academy. Kate watched the sun sink lower. What if I fail? What if students get hurt because I made mistakes? Then you will learn from those mistakes and do better. That is how growth happens. Dr. Kate, you are young. By Kravik standards, you are barely more than a cub yourself. But you have wisdom that some never achieve in long lifetimes. You know that trying and failing is better than never trying at all. They sat in comfortable silence for a while. Then Kate heard small footsteps behind her. She turned to see all 6 cubs approaching, led by Kiratal. We heard the council offered you a position, Kiratal said. We wanted to tell you something. The cubs gathered around Kate. They were all so much bigger than when she first met them. Healthy, strong, full of life. If you stay here, we can see you every day, one of the male cubs said. You can teach us about human medicine, another added. And we can teach you how to hunt properly, a third said eagerly. You are still very bad at hunting, Kate laughed. I am a doctor, not a hunter. But I appreciate the offer. Kiratal moved closer, pressing her head against Kate's shoulder. We want you to stay. You are Pack. Pack stays together. Kate felt her decision crystallizing. She looked at these young Kravik, these cubs she had saved. They were just the beginning. There would be others who needed help. Others who could benefit from doctors who understood multiple species, who could improvise and adapt and care. Okay, Kate said quietly. Okay, I will do it. The cubs erupted in excited chirps and howls. They danced around Kate, their joy infectious. Sharavik smiled and stood. Come, we must tell Vormath. He will be pleased. The next few months were a whirlwind of activity. Kate returned to the Nightingale long enough to request a transfer. Captain Jake Miller was sad to see her go, but he understood. You are doing important work, Kate. The galaxy needs this academy. Go build something amazing. Ben chose to go with her. Someone needs to keep you organized, he said. Plus, I want to learn more about alien medicine. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Earth's medical government approved the plan enthusiastically. They sent additional staff, equipment, and resources. Other species contributed as well. The Kravik provided the land and main facilities. A crystalline species called the Luminari offered advanced scanning technology. A peaceful herbivore species called the Gentari sent teachers skilled in neural medicine. The academy took shape over 6 months. It was built near the Kravik settlement, a complex of buildings designed to accommodate multiple species. Human standard gravity in some sections, heavy Kravik gravity in others, air filtration systems that could handle different atmospheric needs. Medical labs equipped with the best technology from a dozen worlds. On opening day, 30 students arrived. 10 were human, carefully selected from medical schools across Earth. The rest came from 15 different species. Some were young, just starting their medical training. Others were experienced doctors seeking to expand their knowledge. Kate stood at the entrance, greeting each student personally. She wore the healer's star around her neck, the crystal pulsing with soft light. Beside her stood Ben, now the Academy's assistant director. Vormath was there too, representing the Kravik Council. A young human woman approached nervously. Dr. Morrison? I am Dr. Lynn Hayes. I studied your case file in school. You are the reason I wanted to work in xenomedicine. Kate smiled. Welcome, Dr. Hayes. I hope you are ready to learn. This will not be easy. I am ready, Lynn said with determination. One by one, the students filed in. Kate showed them to the main lecture hall, a large room with seats that could adjust for different body sizes and types. She stood at the front looking at the diverse group before her. Welcome to the Interspecies Medical Academy, Kate began. You come from many worlds, many cultures, many backgrounds, but you all share one thing. You want to heal. You want to help. You want to make life better for beings who suffer. She paused, letting her words sink in. This academy exists because I made a choice 6 months ago. I chose to help dying cubs even though I had no training in their biology. I chose to try even though I might fail. I chose compassion over caution. That choice changed my life and brought all of you here today. Kate touched the healer's star. Medicine is not just about knowledge, though knowledge is important. It is not just about skill, though skill is essential. Medicine is about caring enough to act. It is about seeing a life in danger and refusing to walk away. That is what I will teach you here. She looked at the human students. Some of you will find that treating aliens is harder than you expected. Their biology will confuse you. Their customs will challenge you. There will be moments when you want to give up. Then she looked at the alien students. Some of you will struggle to understand human medicine. Our approaches will seem strange. Our emotions will confuse you. You will wonder why humans care so much about individuals rather than populations. Kate smiled. But if you stay, if you work hard, if you open your minds and hearts, you will become something rare and precious. You will become healers who can work with any species. You will bridge worlds. You will save lives that no one else can save. A student raised a tentacle. It was a Gentari, a being that looked like a gentle octopus. Dr. Morrison, what is the most important thing we need to learn here? Kate thought about that question. She thought about Kiratal convulsing on the medical platform. She thought about Vormath's desperate eyes. She thought about the 6 other medical ships that had refused to help. The most important thing, Kate said slowly, is to remember that every patient is someone's child, someone's parent, someone's friend. When you see a patient, do not see an alien. See a person who needs help. That is when you become a true healer. The students were quiet, absorbing her words. Then one of the human students started clapping. Others joined in, creating a cacophony of applause, chirps, clicks, and thumps as each species showed approval in their own way. Classes began the next day. Kate taught the first course herself, a survey of comparative biology. She had students examine medical scans from multiple species, identifying similarities and differences. She taught them to see patterns, to recognize that life followed certain rules regardless of where it evolved. Ben taught a course on emergency medicine. He used the Kravik cubs as a case study, walking students through every decision Kate had made, every risk she had calculated. Other teachers covered specialized topics: surgical techniques for beings without blood, psychological care for hive minds, pain management for species that experienced pain differently than humans. The students struggled at first. Human students fainted when they saw Kravik blood. Alien students could not understand human emotional responses to death. There were cultural misunderstandings, communication problems, and moments of frustration. But slowly they learned. They began to see each other as colleagues rather than aliens. They studied together, ate together, and shared their knowledge freely. 3 months into the first term, the Academy received its first emergency call. A mining accident on a nearby moon had injured workers from 4 different species. The Academy's medical transport, piloted by Vormath himself, rushed to the scene. Kate brought her advanced students with her. They worked together, treating injuries they had only studied in theory. A human student named Greg Parker performed surgery on a luminary worker, carefully repairing crystalline structures that served as organs. Lynn Hayes stabilized a Kravik miner, adapting human techniques to his massive frame. The alien students treated human injuries with confidence, no longer afraid of the differences. They saved every worker, not a single death. When they returned to the Academy, exhausted and covered in various types of blood, the students looked at each other with new respect. They had done something incredible. They had worked as a team across species lines, and they had saved lives. Kate gathered them in the lecture hall. Today you proved what this academy stands for. You did not see species. You saw patients. You did not worry about protocols. You did what needed to be done. You made me proud. Word of the successful rescue spread quickly. More students applied to the academy. More species offered to contribute resources and teachers. The Galactic Council Medical Assembly officially recognized the academy as a legitimate training institution, the first of its kind. 1 year after Kate saved the Kravik cubs, the academy held its first graduation ceremony. 15 students had completed the advanced program and were now certified in interspecies emergency medicine. They would go on to serve on ships, stations, and worlds throughout the sector. Kate stood on the stage with tears in her eyes as she handed each graduate their certificate. Human students who could now treat any species with confidence. Alien students who understood human medicine and compassion. They were the future of galactic healthcare. Vormath gave a speech at the ceremony. 1 year ago, my cubs were dying. One human doctor refused to give up on them. Today, because of her vision and courage, we have trained healers who can help anyone, anywhere. The Kravik people are proud to host this academy. We pledge our continued support for as long as it serves the galaxy. After the ceremony, Kate found a quiet moment to visit the cubs. They were growing into strong young Kravik, training to be warriors like their father. But they always made time for their human pack sister. Kiratal, now nearly as tall as Vormath, hugged Kate carefully. You did it, Dr. Kate. You built something that will last forever. Kate hugged her back. We built it together, all of us. Humans, Kravik, and every species that believed in this vision. She looked at the academy campus, at the students and teachers from a dozen worlds working together. She thought about the future, about all the lives that would be saved by doctors trained here. Kate Morrison had been a simple military doctor when she received that distress call. Now she was a teacher, a leader, and a bridge between worlds. She wore the Healer's Star not just as an award, but as a reminder of what had started everything. 6 dying cubs, 1 human doctor who refused to give up, and a galaxy that learned that compassion was not weakness, but the greatest strength of all. The story of the pack leader's cubs spread throughout known space. It became legend, told in 100 languages on 1,000 worlds, and whenever young beings asked what humans brought to the galaxy, the answer was always the same. They brought hope. They brought the courage to try when others would not. They brought the belief that every life mattered regardless of species or origin. And sometimes, when the situation seemed impossible and the odds were against them, humans would roll up their sleeves and step in, because that was what humans did. That was what made them special. Kate stood under the alien sky of Kravos Prime, surrounded by students and pack family, and knew she was exactly where she was meant to be. The galaxy was vast and full of challenges, but as long as there were beings willing to help each other, willing to reach across differences and see the common thread of life, there was always hope. And hope, Kate had learned, was the most powerful medicine of all.